Markets Now is brought to you by the 5-year anniversary of Brevant Seeds. Here's to 5 years of not just winning, but collecting one game-changing W after another. See all of our wins at brevant.com/wins.
And welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rourke with Joe Kooima of Kooima Varilek. And we rounded out the week with mostly lower closes, except for the cattle market here the day after Christmas. Okay, Joe, let's start off talking about cattle, a little higher on Friday. But if you look at a chart, we're pretty darn sideways. What is it going to take to break above these levels, do you think?
Yeah, thanks for having me on this afternoon, and kind of a delayed Merry Christmas to everybody. But chart-wise, like you said, completely sideways. I think we were even talking here in the office a week and a half ago, like this volume all of a sudden just the vacuum got taken to it because it's slow. We have smaller kind of daily ranges with lower volume. It's just like what is going on here? And we're still seeing some of that, and that's why we're getting this sideways commotion on the charts there. And very rarely do you see meats and cattle in particular generate a sideways commotion. But what will it take? I think that's a great question to have here. Been really quiet for cash this week. There's some done on Wednesday. I haven't heard much here today at all, but it was kind of some steady to a dollar better, kind of a good undertow to it, basically. So even calling it a steady marketplace, it just feels like it's firming a little bit. It seems like some of these packers are maybe getting to the end of the volume of cattle that they got about 2 weeks ago. So they kind of reached into that in the last week's trade, kind of utilized that, and definitely some of this week as well. So I think what it'll take is probably next week to see exactly where the packer stands, and to see if they have to kind of go out and get some cash cattle again, because I think they chewed through it here the last several weeks anyway. So I think that's the case for it. We'll have to take a look at next week, because today, watching the screen, hoofda, we opened up 50 higher, went to $2 higher immediately, and then we went sideways on 5-minute charts ever since about 9:30. It seems like my eyelids are getting a little bit heavy here today for sure.
Well, and if you look at a chart too, we should talk about the fact that, we've had over a $25 retracement from the lows here in November. In February, live cattle almost $50 or over $50 in January, feeder cattle. And so we're up into some retracement levels on the charts, aren't we?
Yeah, we're starting to see a little bit of that. And I kind of how you put that in perspective too. We've had such a big rally here, and we got a market extremely overbought. And to have a correction just go sideways and take us out of that overbought status, that's a really good indication of a strong bull market, that we're not quite dead yet. And we'll have to take a look to see what next week really brings. But to have a market have such a strong rally like that and only give back just a little bit, it's an extremely good position for the bulls.
Very good. What about demand right now? What's your sense of box beef clearance and prices at this stage of the game?
That's hard to balance looking at the two. We've seen boxes just kind of slip and have slipped for quite a while here yet. You don't hear much about it's bad demand or anything like that, but some of these prices that we get that we look at every day, it's such a small part of exactly what's sold into the marketplace. There, it's just more of a reflection of just the price that's done that day, but not for a big part of what's out there, what they sell. So we'd like to see the boxes catch here a little bit to kind of bring some of these demand bulls back in the marketplace. But I don't hear anything that we're slipping too far away. The prices are a little bit higher, but it's not like it's drastically out of anybody's hands quite yet with that. And some other indicators out there too that kind of make sense when you talk about it is Mexico, some of their imports into the U.S., whether it's some fresh stuff or some frozen beef, it's bigger than what it was last year, and that makes total sense when you look at the whole border situation, that being closed almost a year now. So you put some of those indicators in there, and then it makes a little bit more sense of why the boxes have a little bit trouble catching here.
For sure. We're going to see more imports from Argentina, Brazil, Mexico after the first of the year, aren't we?
yeah, we should see a little bit of that take into effect as well, at least up into their quotas anyway. So I guess Trump is going to get his way a little bit as far as getting boxes to go down a little bit, but it's a good thing we traded live cattle up here instead of just the boxes.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the hog market in the opposite direction. Today, we've been down 2 days in a row. We're digesting the hogs and pigs report yet, you think, the bearishness?
I think we are, and the first snippet of it has happened the first hour of trade after that report was released, so to have the market recover like it has is kind of more of a true testament of, okay, do we really believe some of those numbers or not, or we just kind of go back to what we're all hearing as far as when we talk to our producers and how bad the disease is still really there. It's hard to find anybody that's got a good clean barn necessarily. So 2 years in a row now we're hearing some catastrophic death losses out there, and I think that's main part of the reason why we have seen this rally and had it sustained so well is on the backbone of that disease issue.
Yeah, and if you look at a chart, we have had a good rally over $10 off the November lows as well. So from a technical standpoint, do you think maybe after the first of the year, we're going to have a time period where we can get above some of these resistance areas or these highs that we've put in?
I think if we look past like June, July, and August, I think those markets could be a little bit more sustainable with their rally, just with all the disease issues going on. But I guess I've kept in the back of my mind now for the last 6 months is that we had a little snippet there where 5-6 weeks our production was kicking really, really good, and that's going to land here in the next, after we get into the new year next week in January and February. I do believe we're going to see a little bit of a ramp up in production just because we had a good kick in production there for a little while. So that has been in the back of my mind for a while that, yeah, we're catching a nice trend here. But this April stuff, great prices to have April close to $90 here, 89 or so. The guy's going to have to take a look at that into next week and see if there's some floors you want to put on, maybe something down at 85 cents just for like a simple put option. And just kind of have that underneath here because it's not like we're looking at bad markets. Typically the fourth quarter for hogs is terrible, but we're looking at a market here at the end of the year. We got first quarter numbers from 83 to 88. I mean, that's a good set of numbers to at least try to collect some of that moving forward, because I do believe we're going to have some production here and it's going to last in 5-6 weeks or so. But after that, I think we're going to have some holes in production again.
Gotcha. Good advice there. Okay, so the grains all sitting back here for the most part on this Friday, but we had a nice run, especially on Wednesday. Did we just get up into some chart resistance areas here? Is that why we kind of stalled out?
Yeah, particularly for corn, I think we have, you look at that chart, it's a range that can be 25 cents to 30 cents, as much as that. We just kind of went back and looked at some of those from a couple weeks ago. I don't know if we'd have enough news, especially on a Friday here, the day after Christmas, to really push that market up and through. And I wonder if this market just kind of settles back into trading more of the middle of the range until we can come up into that January 12th report to see if there's any surprises there. Beans, although it's just a little bit lower here today, we had a good day on Wednesday, almost kind of a good little event last Friday into Monday to kind of put in a little bit of a low. We were oversold for 2 solid weeks. So anytime we can get up and away from that low that we put in on Friday, have a big day and then just give 3-4 cents back on a day like today, I think it's pretty outstanding. At least you can start drawing some uptrends with today's activity.
So you at least feel like the bottom is in that darn soybean market then, huh?
It feels like it now, even like we were talking, before we went on live, is that, man, do we have to give back some of that 11 cents? But it's just like, well, we're hardly giving any of it back. We had a good day, and you'd have to have the market step back a little bit after putting a little bit of a short-term low like that. You don't want it to retest the lows necessarily, but if it wants to give back just a little bit, and next week maybe we can see some more China news come in there, or these funds want to put their footing in here a little bit better and buy some more instead of getting out of some of the length that they have. I mean, that's all in front of us, but I guess that's how I'm looking at it, a little bit with a little bit more optimism here today.
Going back to the corn, a little setback today in the March contract. I think 452 was the high from December. So the fact that we got above there, I saw a lot of the advisory firms that maybe had some sell orders up there at that 452 and above. So maybe farmer selling kind of capped that rally too today, you think?
Yeah, but I think there's a little bit of that with it too. We've been, like you said, up there, and even back a couple weeks prior to that, we're almost at the same height too. So you don't want to, miss another sale if we get back to that level. So that does make a lot of sense there too.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, we're going to end up with higher weekly closes though in corn, soybeans, and wheat. Wheat felt a little bit like the leader. It's easier to move a market when you have light volume. Do you think, I guess my question is, do you think we can build on this at all next week or not?
I think if it does happen, it's Monday, Tuesday is going to is when you're going to want to see it happen. You're going to have a little bit more volume Monday and Tuesday, and then kind of back to some of that holiday trade Wednesday, and then no trade on Thursday and into Friday. So I guess I would like to see it more at the beginning of the week. Just get ourselves a little bit further away from the lows, especially in the beans, and then you can have the trifecta. If wheat wants to follow along, have the beans with it, and then have corn hold steady here towards the top of the range. I think that'd be a good first step going into the new year anyway.
All right. Yeah, I don't know how much to read into these rallies when you're into this holiday type volume, but good answer. Thanks so much, Joe Kooima with Kooima Varilek. That is Markets Now.
When you choose Brevant Seeds, you don't just win. You win so big, the very ground beneath your feet cries tears of joy. You win so big that second place feels like a participation trophy. You win so big, you might as well be harvesting buried treasure. Oh, sorry, just one more. When you choose Brevant Seeds, you don't just win. You hit the damn jackpot. Don't just win. Talk with your retailer or visit Brevant.com/jackpot to get started.